welcome to the red half of Sheffield. And before we get started, I want to say this guest that I'm about to have. If you're listening to this and not watching on YouTube, this is one of my in the UK radio heroes because every time he's on a commentary, I'm locked in if it's not Sheffield United related. But that's a long-winded introduction for from the popular show, or if it's not popular enough, I hope it's gaining traction by the time you listen to this. You hit the like, you hit the subscribe button to the What the EFL podcast. I'm joined by the one, the only Adrian Clarke. Adrian, how are you doing?
Hello, Chad. Yeah, what an introduction. I'm happy with that. Much appreciated. Very kind of you. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, What the EFL, we really enjoy doing that show. We're having a little break for the summer, but I feel we'll be back to sort of tease the new season, which is sort of sneaking up on us fairly quickly, isn't it? So it's been nice to have a breather, but I feel like the season is kind of around the corner now, so it's exciting times.
Yeah, and before you know it, we'll be hell, at the time of recording, I think a handful of friendlies have been played in and around the EFL. I believe Huddersfield have played a couple. There's a few teams down the leagues that have already started the preseason. And you check the calendar and you're like, hold on, today's the 6th of July.
I know.
It's usually
we used to go back into training when I was a player on the 1st of July. Pretty much every club I went to, I played for. But these days in the EFL, they definitely come back at late June, maybe sometimes as early as like mid to late June. So they don't get much of a breather. They really don't. I'm sure the Sheffield United players would have had a little bit longer because that was not a nice way to end the season, an extended season. But I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, it was as I've said, it's the proverbial kick to the nether regions with a steel-toe boot, the way the season ended for Blades fans. But the reason, I guess we'll go down the Sheffield United road real quick. Your thoughts on the headline-making news over the summer, the late sacking of Chris Wilder, and the almost simultaneously appointment of Ruben Salas.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on what went down on all that? Were you a bit shocked to see Wilder leave on kind of the last kick of the game of the playoff final, and then he's gone, and now Ruben Salas is back to replace him?
Yeah, definitely shocked because I thought he did a really good job. I've got to be honest. I mean, the Blades were terrible in the Premier League. It was an awful campaign. And he galvanized the group. He got them together, brought in some really good players. The goal is a real standout, but lots of excellent loanees came in, and I thought that they did excellently. And in most seasons, their points tally is going to take you up in top two. And in the playoff final, Sheffield United battered Sunderland for the most part. For an hour it was men against boys. So very, very unlucky not to go up. He's very unlucky to lose his job. But the more I look into it with the new ownership and, some of the things that they want to bring in, like, I know a lot's been said about the sort of AI or the Uber data-led approach. It doesn't fit that well with Chris Wilder, who I don't think is averse to modern methods at all. But he's old school to a degree, isn't he? He has to really be in control of recruitment, I think. So maybe it wasn't a good fit. No, I do think also that Chris Wilder is prone to the odd blow up in terms of what he says verbally.
Yeah.
That filter is quite tough for him. And sometimes, this new ownership maybe didn't like some of the things that he came out with post-match. And, once that seed is sown, I think a manager's number is often up. And we've seen it so often at other clubs. New owners want their own manager.
Yeah.
Without droning on too much, in terms of Ruben Salas, I do think it's a pretty smart appointment. He's good. He's definitely good. Really impressed by what he did at Reading under really difficult circumstances. I watched him a few times. Excellent football, possession football, quite modern, like players interchanging positions and fairly sophisticated style of play. And that Reading team had no right to be near the playoffs, given what he had to work with. So he did great there. He kept Hull up, but Hull is a tough gig. he's lucked out. He couldn't have got a better gig than Sheffield United. That is for sure. No,
Yeah.
no way, no way. So he's lucky in a way to get the job. And look, we'll see what he's made of now, because Sheffield United's aim is promotion, and he's probably never been in that position before where he's got that expectation. So let's see what he's made of.
Yeah, and it certainly sets up for, as we talked about, an interesting summer coming ahead, because you got to think that United squad that ended the playoff
Yeah.
final,
Mm.
for the most part, the only one that's gone out the door as of recording now is Sousa to Wolfsburg.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might lose a few here and there, maybe, Gus Hamer leaves,
Yeah.
or an Hodzic goes, or somebody like that. But at the end of the day, the core of the squad is still there. And, you would probably, this has probably been the most well-backed club he's been
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
in a position coming through a summer. So if all of you know, all the talking heads that have given their 2 cents on it, if they say, if he's given a proper summer and he's well backed,
Mm.
there shouldn't be any in theory drop off at Sheffield United this season. I mean, it should almost pick up right where it left off. And
Yeah.
with the teams coming down and the teams in this division from last year,
Mm.
you like to think United's chances are pretty high to get at least promoted,
I
if
think
not
so.
make it back to the playoffs.
I think
Obviously,
so. Yeah, I think playoffs minimum, really. Like, the squad is strong already. There will be new incomings for sure. I mean, Vinny Sousa is a big miss. I mean,
Mhm.
he was a good, tough tackling midfielder. He was everywhere, wasn't he? And he would need replacing. Sidney Peck is hardworking and industrious, but you need a top player alongside him. Really, there's a lot of
Mhm.
good loanees left, although a few did fall out of favour, didn't they?
Mhm.
I suppose Hamza Chowdhury was really good towards
Yeah.
the end. Brereton Diaz had his moments, didn't he?
Mhm.
Suter. Raksaki, I like him. Look, one or
Yeah.
two might come back, mightn't they, as on a permanent deal? But I do think Sheffield United brought in a good young player from Reading on loan. Well, it's actually not from Reading on loan, because he joined Forest
Yeah.
in January. Tyler Binden, the centre half. I have to say, when I worked for TalkSport covering Reading a couple of times last season, he was the standout player. No doubt
Really.
about it. Centre back, young. I think he's only 20. Great on the ball, but also just a really accomplished defender. He stood out to me. So Forest obviously saw that, brought him in Jan, loaned him straight back to Reading. But yeah, I think it's a good pickup on loan.
Yeah.
Hopefully for the season, I don't know, but
Hopefully.
yeah, yeah. So that's a good start. But yeah, I think you do need to get busy, because the thing is, after you've had such a devastating end to the season, I think it's really important to refresh the squad so that
Mhm.
there's not as big a hangover. If you have the same group,
Yeah.
everyone's feeling a bit sorry for themselves. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Fresh faces just make everything feel new, and I think that's
Yeah.
really, really important.
That's really true. That's, at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. Hopefully, over the next coming weeks, because as you mentioned, I think in about a month's times, when the ball is getting kicked for real, um, you got to start doing some business, bring some players in. They have went back to training for preseason and in the such, but it's just it's like you said, you lose on such a last minute goal in such a
Mhm.
big game. Sayez coming in hopefully has told them to let it go. You
Yeah,
had
yeah.
enough time to let that result go. Let it go. Start afresh. Come into this season. The aim is to, you know, win the league, finish
Mm,
second, get automatically promoted. So you don't have to put yourself in the playoffs. Don't have to put yourself in that position to where you have to go to a playoff final
mm,
you lose in dramatic fashion, because that
mm.
almost kills somebody's confidence over a career.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
There's not much wrong with Sheffield United. I mean, Gus Hamer, obviously, if he goes, that'd be a blow, because
yeah,
he's your guaranteed goals and assist guy. He came off injured in the final. I don't think Sheffield United were the same after that. So
Mhm.
yeah, if he goes, they have to spend big, I think, on a replacement, or I suppose maybe promote sort of Callum O'Hare to a bit more game time. But I don't know if a Callum is quite of the level of Hamer. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. But you might have the best goal in the division.
Yeah.
You got some pretty good front players already.
Hmm.
Yeah, you'll be there or thereabouts for sure.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, I would agree with you like that. Moving on.
Mm.
In your illustrious career as a footballer, I've been wanting to ask this
Mm,
question,
mm,
and you've played up and down the leagues of the EFL.
mm.
And me being a fan of just not Sheffield United, but the entire EFL. I
Mm.
mean, I'll watch the Premier League because it showed so
Yeah.
much over here in the States. What I'm going to make you head of the EFL. How do you close the gap from the EFL to the Premier League?
Yeah, it's a big question, and
Mhm.
it's a question that actually needs an answer, and something needs to be done because there's just too much money in the Premier League now, and
Mhm.
not enough swimming around. I think the parachute payment system has to change. I really
Mhm.
do. It distorts the championship. Actually, I mean, every now and again you'll get a team that comes through, but I think we all know who's going to be at the top end of the championship this coming season. You know, the three that came down and other clubs that have been there or thereabouts in the Premier League in recent years. So it has to be a better distribution of wealth, doesn't it? I mean, that
Yeah.
is the bottom line. I think that is the only way that it will happen. The problem is that the Premier League is owned effectively by Premier League clubs.
Yeah.
So it's they're voting to maybe give up money, and is that really going to happen? And that's the
Right.
vicious circle that we're stuck in. Are Leeds going to vote for a system where if they get relegated, they um, they get a quarter of what they get now, and the rest of it gets distributed around the Championship and League One? Are they going to really vote for that? No, they're
No.
not, are
No.
they? So something has to happen. I mean, there is an independent regulator apparently coming into English football, so we'll see whether they have the power to maybe change things. But it's a problem, and it's also a problem in the Premier League, where obviously the Champions League money is so big now that
Mhm.
league is getting distorted, and it's a sort of mini league of its own at the top. So, yeah, football's a bit in a weird state at the moment, I've got to say. Yeah, it has to be a fairer distribution of cash. If
Yeah.
there isn't, then we're talking about pretty boring seasons where that the top 4 or 5 are going to be the same every year.
Yeah. And it's when I go on other podcasts or when I'm interviewed and asked about, what do you want on Chef United season, and it'll come up this time. I'm always in the what I feel is the minority. Yes, everybody wants to go up.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
in turn want to stay here because it's
yeah,
it's so much more fun.
yeah, yeah.
If we were to like nothing against Sunderland in Leeds and Burnley that went up, but for 38 games, 30 odd games, you're going to get battered. You're going to probably lose 28 of them,
Mm,
draw a few, win a few, and then you're going to be. Remember when it used to be, the fight for relegation was 40 points?
yeah, yeah,
Now it's slashed in half and it's like
yeah,
25,
yeah.
20 to stay. Like, I mean,
It's very depressing. Yeah,
yeah.
I spoke. I don't know if you heard me say this, but I went to the EFL Awards for Talksport, and I got to interview Gus Hamer afterwards. He won the award, didn't he? He was absolutely
Mhm.
buzzing. And I said that. I said this very point, made this very point to him. I said, "Do you even want to go up? Like
Yeah.
seriously, like it's got to be more fun in the Championship, scoring loads of goals, winning every week." He sort of laughed it off, really, and looked at it from kind of almost a fan point of view in terms of, yeah,
Mhm.
but I want to play against like the players I see on the telly. It's basically
Yeah,
what he was saying.
exactly.
I want to
Yeah.
play against, Liverpool and Man City and Arsenal. I want to play against all these amazing superstars. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but at the same time, how much fun is it in the Championship? But obviously, he couldn't really say, no, we don't want to go up. So it was a daft question, I suppose, in a way. But yeah, I think for supporters, it's got to be more enjoyable, hasn't it? I think so. And then, the money can help you for a few years, but some of these owners, it disappears, doesn't it? Some of this money, it doesn't always get filtered back into the team.
And you can look at as simple as what's going on, what's going to happen at Leicester.
Yeah.
Are they going to have multiple points deductions? Are they just going to have one lump sum where you inevitably think that that's going to probably take them out of the automatic promotion races? It's going to be, they're almost relegated to the playoffs at best if everything goes right.
Yeah.
You can even look across town at what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday. Their
Oh,
owner is just absolutely running the club and the ground. And even for the lack of the matter, Hull, now they're on a three window ban as well. So it's like, I understand, because this is what I was big in, and I'm kind of, moving the needle in the questions I'm going to ask. But it's like, that's what I was worried about when Sheffield United got taken over last January. It's a bit worrying if these owners come in here and they run the club into the ground, and we had a profitable club, or in quotation marks, a profitable club or a successful club. Now you look at what's going on with Sheffield Wednesday. They're probably odds on for relegation, along with Hull going down to League One, because their owners come in and they run amok and just screw everything up.
Yeah.
And now it's, who does it hurt at the end of the day? It hurts the players, but it hurts the fans and the supporters, the people that they're trying to get away from the day-to-day, life by going and watching football, something they love. And when somebody treats the club like it's a free-for-all and it ends like that, it just kills the supporters.
Yeah, look, football is a business in so many ways, but it's not a normal business. It's a community thing, and the clubs belong to the supporters. And a lot of business people run companies into the ground and just bankrupt them and start again. You can't do that with a football club. You just can't do it. Nope. So I think things have got to change. I mean, look what the government did when obviously the Russia-Ukraine war happened. They forced Roman Abramovich to sell that club. And that went through, and it's a bit controversial in terms of where that funds have gone. It's still sitting there, I think, in the bank account, but they actually forced that sale. I would like to see a situation where, a regulator, whether it's the government or what, can step in if a club is being ruined, they're in a state of absolute turmoil, a little bit like Sheffield Wednesday, and force, a sale.
Yeah.
But then of course the tests have got to be more stringent in terms of who you sell it to. So that's been way too loose, hasn't it? Really in recent years. So yeah, look, there are loads of great things about the EFL. There's loads I love about it, but yeah, rogue owners is a stain on the sport, isn't it? And unfortunately, we're seeing too many of them.
Oh yeah. I can right now. I can pencil down a list of all the bad owners. Turning to a brighter side of things, your outlook on the 25-26. What out of the three divisions? What do you what division you think is going to be the most hotly contested division?
That's a good question. I would say that the Championship is going to be exciting. There's some decent clubs coming down. I mean, that's a really tough question. I mean, League One is a lot weaker this year because obviously Birmingham and Wrexham have gone up, the two big powerhouses. So you probably and Charlton as well, who are traditionally a big club. So you'd probably look maybe at League One and say, well, who's going to win it? And the answer is probably none of us really know. And I think that's the sign of a good division. I'm looking at the teams now. I think one team that's going to be much, much improved would be Huddersfield. they have made some unbelievable signings, some really good signings for a League One side. I mean, they've got Murray Wallace from Millwall's a standout. Harness from Ipswich. Ryan Ledson has been at Preston for years. All very reliable players. The goalkeeper they brought in is brilliant from Crystal Palace. He was at AFC Wimbledon last season. He's excellent. So I think Huddersfield will definitely be there or thereabouts. Blackpool have made some good signings. Wigan have brought in Paul Mullin, so that's quite interesting. It's a new era, of course, at Bolton. Luton coming down was an absolute real shock, wasn't it? And you'd expect them to be there or thereabouts. Wickham have got loads of money. Reading are under new ownership. You know, I'm listing off teams here, but Leyton Orient are, weren't far off last year. I think League One has the makings of being a cracking division this season. And actually, it has been for a number of years now. It's produced some really, really exciting games.
Yeah, it has. That's what it is. It's when you get stuck in a League One game or even just an entire League One match day or a League Two match day.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing like it. That's why these three divisions, in my eyes, are miles ahead of everybody. I just as enjoyable, and it's a shame that people over here in the States don't have. You have a little bit more visibility with the new TV rules that came in last year. So they show, they show a bunch of championship games, but it's like this year with Wrexham being in the championship, they'll show every single Wrexham game. You'll have your heavy hitters will be on every week. And I'm just curious to see now with those heavy hitters now in the championship, who do they spotlight in League One? And on the odd chance they show League Two games over here, who do we get to watch over there? Because for my money, at any point, I take any game. It could be hell. I don't even Stockport County, Reading in League One. I mean, put it up there. Sure, it's not going to get all the ratings but I mean, it's something cool to watch.
It's a good standard. Honestly, there's some really excellent players in that division. Obviously, as the Premier League gets ever bigger and improves and the standard goes up, the other leagues are they've improved as well. So it's not League One used to be pretty direct. A lot of long ball football. You won't see that now. It's a lot of the teams play out from the back like the Premier League teams. They're pretty nice to watch. So, I think that is absolutely wide open this season. This time last year, we knew Birmingham would win the league.
Exactly.
It was everybody knew that they would win the league. If you didn't, then you were making a big mistake. It was so obvious. But this time around, I couldn't pick an easy winner. I'd maybe lean towards a Luton, maybe or maybe Huddersfield based on what I said, but it's absolutely wide open. I would draw your attention in League Two to MK Dons. Had a dreadful campaign last year.
They did.
And they went through, I think, 2 or 3 managers. And Paul Warne is there now, and he obviously got Rotherham up a few times. He's been at Derby. He's a really good manager. And so, they've got a manager that really shouldn't be in League Two, but the squad was already good, but they have signed excellent players. They've got Mendes Lang from Derby, Hepburn Murphy from Crawley, the talented boy, a couple from Bolton, Gethin Jones, a wing back, Aaron Collins, a striker from Bolton, and Will Collar, who's one of the stars really at Stockport. So MK Dons have bought players that really should be in the top of League One. So keep your eye on them.
You're getting me excited for EFL football, and I told myself I wouldn't start getting excited for football to the end of July. Man, oh wow, this is going to be this is why I love it. Before we get out of here, in your illustrious football playing career, I'm going to give you. It's probably going to be a harder question for you to answer. Right. Your favorite ground to play at.
Oh, okay. In the EFL or across
let's keep it EFL.
Let's keep it EFL, right? I'm going to have to go through I'm going to have to get a list of teams up here. in the Premier League, I loved it at Newcastle. That was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it at St James's Park. I was lucky enough to play there. Looking at some of these, I mean, some of the clubs have changed grounds.
Yeah, it's true.
Unfortunately, since I played, I'm fairly ancient, as you know. Right, let me think about atmospheres. I mean, Sheffield United, and I don't want to, I'm not crawling around you here, but I played at I played at Bramall Lane when I was about 14, in sort of a schools competition. So it's got a little bit of a special place in my heart. We beat Sheffield Schools, my county, my district. So that was a nice moment. And look, I was there with Arsenal actually when Sheffield United knocked us out of the FA Cup in '96, and that the atmosphere that night was nuts. It was really, really special. I think in terms of, I think it's probably more relevant now in terms of where I go as a broadcaster and where I really enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? In terms of the noise and what goes on. I think Norwich is a great ground. It's always a colourful because of the colours of the club, but it's always it's a nice club. But they always have a sellout. It's a picture when you if you've never been to Carrow Road, I would advise people to go there. It's a lovely place to go. Portsmouth, I played against Pompey back in the day. That was intimidating because they're right on the pitch and they're very noisy. Portsmouth fans, very noisy, and away their away following is amazing. I remember I played for Southend and played Portsmouth in the Championship, and I remember coming out for the warm up. You know what it's like. No one's ever really there in the warm up. They'd already packed the away end out. They'd already packed it out. It was a big game for them. They were pushing for promotion, and they were all of them were already in there, and the atmosphere was incredible. Where else do I like? I'll tell you what surprised me a little bit is Bristol City.
Really?
It's like when I played there, it was half the size it is now. Like it's grown. It's just like the main stand there is amazing. It's a fantastic vantage point from the press box, and they create a good atmosphere as well. So they sort of stand out. I don't think where I played.
It's the whole thing is I'd like to go to Ashton Gate, but when the game's on over here, it's like the cameraman is basically on the moon trying to film the game, and it's
high,
just like,
yeah,
geez, there isn't a lower vantage point to go and just record from or film the game from. It's like, what is he on, like a 40-story building or what?
Well, it's high. It is a big stand. It is a really, really big stand. But that is a club that's totally ready for Premier League football.
And they're close, and then they ran into the buzzsaw that was Sheffield United.
Another one, a funny one that people wouldn't expect because it's a dump. It really is. But Luton is a cracking ground to play at because there's three good sides. There's one very questionable side where the TV is, but the rest of it is higgledy piggledy. It's like a very unusual ground. It's not nice, but it's very enclosed, and it makes the pitch feel really small and tight. And I think all footballers enjoy that when it feels like the crowd are really on top of you. So I'd pick out them as well. So, but there's loads, but you always have bias of who you played for, places where you scored goals, stuff like that. Like I played for Stevenage, so I love the Stevenage ground, but really it wouldn't make many people's top tens. But it's great. And actually, there's one more in League Two. Bradford is amazing. It's just nuts. I mean, they were in League Two. They're now in League One, but they will get over 20,000 there.
Easily.
And that's, it's a really good place to play. The pitch is normally terrible, but the fans are excellent. So but look, wherever you go in the EFL, the supporters are usually pretty decent. It's brilliant. There's so much more to English football than just the Premier League. So much more. And look at the teams that are in the Premier League, right? Brighton. I used to play against Brighton all the time in League One.
Mhm.
Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Played against them in League One, League Two. You know, a lot of these clubs have come through and have really sort of kicked on brilliantly. So yeah, there's one I have to say, and it's biased because it was the team I supported when I grew up, and I still have a very soft spot for them. That's Ipswich Town. I love Portman Road.
Portman Road.
Portman
Yeah.
Road is awesome,
Yeah.
and I tell you why it's awesome as well, because it kind of looks the same as when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah, it's barely changed. They've obviously modernized it a little
Yeah.
bit with the seats and stuff, but the structure of the main stands, especially the two on the sides, exactly the same as they
Really?
were back in the 80s. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not an intimidating atmosphere at Switch. The
No.
supporters are a little bit quiet sometimes, but yeah, that is
Yeah.
a place I would love to have played there more
Yeah.
often. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great ground.
It's good. It's great to pick your brain because that's I'm living vicariously through you because I've never obviously been to 90% of these grounds.
Mm.
Before we wrap up, I
Mm.
ask every person that comes on the Red Half of Sheffield, and it's
Yeah,
usually for a preview pod.
yeah,
If you're not after a game because you're usually on call
yeah,
or talking about a game,
yeah.
what's your favorite beverage on a match day? Whether you're at the pub or you're in
after the game,
after
yeah.
the game, yeah.
Well, before the game, some clubs feed you, some clubs don't. Sheffield United, I'm trying to think. Sheffield United, I think that they've got a nice, they've got a nice setup
Mhm.
at Sheffield United. Yeah, but I would probably just boring stuff really before the game. But
Mhm.
I like a pie. Wherever I go, I like to have a pie.
Mhm.
I'll try all sorts. So yeah, not fussy. But yeah, I'll always choose a pie over a burger.
Mhm.
So I have a pie and probably a cup of tea. That would
Mhm.
work before the game, but post match, look, you go for a pint, don't you? You know
Maybe.
it's the way it is. I'm partial to an IPA, a craft beer maybe. Yeah, it's nice. To be honest, I find it quite difficult to unwind after a game.
Mhm.
You get so into it
Mhm.
that actually you can kind of sort of things replay in your own mind. It's difficult to switch off sometimes, and also on occasion you're just really tired. You know,
Yeah.
especially if you've travelled a little bit and you get home, you feel completely knackered because you've used up a lot of mental energy when you're commentating on a game. Because people will think, oh, it's probably easy just talking about football, and I'm very grateful for it. It's the perfect job for me. I love it. But you do have to concentrate really hard on the game and to add color, add the right insight for the
Mhm.
viewers or for the listeners, depending whether you're doing it for TV or radio. And you've got to get it right.
Mhm.
But I'm a freelancer, so I've got to be good to
Yeah.
keep getting asked back. So
Yeah.
you really do have to sort of throw yourself into the match. And I think, what am I seeing here? Not outside of just that shot or that move. What is the picture? What's the story of this game? And that can take up quite a bit of energy. So yeah, like it's nice to unwind with it with
Yeah.
a quick beer after.
Yeah. Good deal. Good deal. I enjoy it. Adrian, before we get out of here, drop the people where they can find you
Okay.
and the What the EFL pod.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. What the EFL pod is just you can find that wherever you get your podcast. Just search what the EFL. I think on X it's at EFL what the.
Mhm.
So we'll always post the links on there. It sort of works backwards. Going to try and promote it a little bit more this year. Going to try and get the shows on YouTube. And yeah, for me, I'm just my handle on socials is at Adrian J Clarke, just the letter J with Clark with an E. Got a bit of exciting news that I'm going to launch my own YouTube channel this summer as well.
Go.
So yeah, I'm going to go on holiday and then probably back into July, you launch it. So hopefully there'll be a What the EFL channel, and then there'll be one that I do mainly around my stuff with Arsenal and the
Mhm.
Premier League. But will chuck in some EFL content for sure on there as well. So yeah,
Definitely.
that'd just be my name, Adrian Clarke. So
Definitely have to
yeah.
give that a check.
Yeah. So
For sure.
yeah, I'm gonna be like your good self, asking people to like and subscribe in the near future.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, lot busy stuff. You can hear me on Sky Sports Plus sometimes. I write for the Premier League website as well, and yeah, often on Talk Sport and the Athletic, the podcast at the Athletic as well. So yeah, I'm hoping for another busy season, but at this time of year, Chad,
Yeah.
I'm out of contract, so
No kidding.
I'm just hoping to get signed up for another year. So fingers crossed.
Exactly. And definitely go give him a follow, go give him a like, go listen to the podcast, because the podcast, as I said to him pre-recording, Adrian, Matt, and Sam do a wonderful job of summing up all three leagues. And they don't run on about one subject. They touch on every single subject or hot button item in each division, and then they get out of the way, and it's gone.
We
They
have a
do
bit of a laugh
splendid
as well,
job.
don't we, Chad? We have a bit of a giggle as well. So, which I
Oh,
always think is important. So,
the tweet of the day or the tweet of the weekend, yes.
Yeah, we don't want to take ourselves too seriously.
Oh, you never can. You never can. It's all about being fun.
Yeah, and so I think that's the same with everything, with it in broadcasting. Is it insightful? Will people watching or listening learn something? Hopefully, and will it be fun and enjoyable?
Yeah,
hopefully. So yeah, they're the two big ticks that you got to find, I think, when you're broadcasting. So hopefully we do it.
For sure, guys. If you haven't done so, Red Half of Sheffield, YouTube, Twitter, X. All over social media. I might be back. I might not before the season. I don't know what the schedule looks like. I'll have to drum up a few more people, but I will leave you on the way out with a Up the Blades.